If you're a D2C operator and TV feels like a black box, that's because most platforms give you 20% of the actual available inventory and none of the measurement to see if it even works. On the other hand, with Tatari, you can buy linear and streaming directly, plus you can measure it like a digital channel. That's the reason over 400 brands like Manscaped, Tecovas, and Chime run performance TV using Tatari. See how they leverage the platform at nik.co/Tatari. That's nik.co/TATARI. Welcome back to another episode of Limited Supply. I'm your host, Nik Sharma, and today we're talking with Ryan. Actually, Ryan is talking with me, and we're pulling out a bunch of insights out of my head, things that I've been working on or seeing or just diving really deep into. So we're talking about three main things today: AI, agency versus in-house, and what makes a brand defensible in 2026. So I think it's going to be a great episode. Ryan's an amazing interviewer, and this was just a really fun, crispy conversation. So that's number one. Number two is the Q4 Summit is officially announced. So we're going to be rolling out announcements of speakers, which you're going to hear about, over the next few weeks. But the Q4 Summit is happening again this year. This is going to be, I believe, our third one. It's going to be the biggest one, the best one we've ever done. We already have insane speakers committed. One is built basically the Hudson strategy, but pre-TikTok. So on bloggers, YouTubers, Instagram, and really other avenues of affiliates. So I'm super excited for that one. We have a founder of a $100+ million company talking about sourcing and offers and prepping for Q4 and how that whole world comes together. Anyways, it's going to be a sick event. We're doing it at Capital in New York, which is an old bank building. It's a beautiful building. So go to nik.co/Q4, nik.co/Q4. That's where you're going to get the ticket for free. If you have any questions about the Q4 Summit or want to learn more, shoot me a DM on Twitter at Mr. Sharma, or just shoot me an email, nik@nik.co. Remember, there's no C in that. All right, we're going to get into today's episode. I'm curious to hear what you think. So shoot me a DM and let me know what you think. I will see you at the end here.
Round two with Nik Sharma. Dude, I have to say, last time we did the episode, it was the middle of the winter.
Yes.
And we looked pale as ghosts.
Yep.
Looking back.
Pale,
we look
layered up.
we look way better now. So.
Now today I think it's like 98 degrees outside.
I know.
Canada can't control their wildfires. All that smoke's coming here. But it's nice.
No doubt, dude. Yeah. So I had to start by asking you about AI and agents because so much has changed in that world from our last conversation.
Yeah. When did we do our last conversation?
It was quite a while ago. I would say it's probably about 14 months ago, over a year.
Yeah, okay. So I probably wasn't even really doing much, if anything.
Yeah, I really think it was before.
Probably just basically like basic chat GPT.
Exactly.
Claude might have been out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I had ever used Claude at that point.
Yeah.
So a lot has changed. So what are you seeing right there? What are the use cases and fun stuff you've been messing around with?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone so deep in the world of AI. I exited my agency in October. And basically after that, I was like, all right, I'm not going to get left behind in this AI race. So the most intimidating thing to me at that time was trying to set up a Claude bot or an OpenClaw on a Mac Mini, and everybody was buying one. And I started to see on Twitter that everybody's like making these websites and apps and all this stuff. And so I was like, all right, I need to just like figure this out. And so I spent a Saturday night from basically like 9 p.m. to 9 a.m.
Those are fun ones.
Figured out how to just like learn Claude Code, the OpenClaw stuff. I started adding apps and integrating things. Learned what power you get when you get access to an API key, for example, of different apps. And since then, just been doing a ton of stuff in AI. Now my setup is I use a Hermes agent for probably a good amount of work, which has like 20 agents on it. So Hermes runs on my Mac Mini with 20 agents, and then I use this app called HQ, if you've heard of that one. It's like a very good memory system, basically. Mm-hmm. And that syncs across all devices. So then when I pull up Claude Code or Codex on my laptop, everything that I'm using is fully in sync.
Awesome.
But I've been using it a lot. I mean, with brands of all different sizes, there's so many interesting use cases. Yesterday for a multi-billion-dollar food company, I was helping them build out or concept a CRM. And so, I was like, we should use PostScript. That was my first thought, right? When you think about CRM and e-commerce. And so I went to Postscript and I was like, guys, we got this opportunity. They're not on Shopify. And they were like, cool, that's fine. We're now opening up our platform too. So we'll have APIs and, you don't have to be on Shopify, and we're going to launch email soon. And so then I was able to use my agent along with the information I got from Postscript to basically build out what a CRM looks like. Ended up building like a scoring algorithm to rank people so that we're not hitting people too often or too few times. So that was like one fun use case. The other one everybody's talking about is like, you're trying to build out your creative supply chain. So you've got, static ads, video ads, copywriting, landing pages, advertorials, listicles, like all these things you just need to produce to generate more awareness and drive more traffic and sales. Everybody's now using agents to now build those pieces. So whether it's like, I was with Cody Plofker yesterday, he's built an entire engine to create emails and static ads using GPT 5.6 or Fable. And so like that's a huge use case. I've seen brands now basically, launching landing pages within an hour or two using their agents and connecting it to Framer's API. And, you build out your kind of brand kit or style guide kit, put it in GitHub, and then using Framer and, whether it's Claude Code or Hermes or whatever, you can now just launch landing pages in an hour. So like what used to take 2 weeks with a really good agency, or maybe a week if you had a really good internal team with resources. Otherwise, maybe 4 to 6 weeks for an average brand is now taking, like 2 hours. But yeah, there's so many use cases, everything from like, even I think the easiest use case is, just plugging everything in and being able to just ask it anything or tell it to go look at best practices. Like what I've seen some people do is they've downloaded, probably like your podcast transcripts, my podcast transcripts, the 9 Operators podcast transcripts, like whoever's talking about stuff going on, and then they'll save that to a database, and then they'll plug in all their e-commerce stuff, Klaviyo, Postscript, Shopify, everything. And then they'll say, based on all this advice, like, what should I be doing better? And it's legit, like something you'd pay a consultant 10, 15 grand for.
Instances.
There's just so many like ways where I feel like the leverage is now in your own pocket. The leverage used to be elsewhere, right? It used to be like, oh, if somebody had a really good designer, they had that leverage. If somebody had a development team in-house, they had that leverage. If somebody has, the ability to just like come up with these ideas and bring them to life, they had the leverage. But now it's like it puts all the accountability on you. And yeah, it's pretty sweet. Like
it really is.
Yeah, I think now the challenge is like more around distribution and continuing to, get those eyeballs and maintain that customer, because customers also now leave easier. Like they have less loyalty to a brand because of everything that's just coming at them.
Yeah. I mean, it's so fascinating thinking about, I feel like a broken record in talking about this, but like unique data being such a important element of all this stuff. And like, ChatGPT is incredible, but it works on averages. And
totally.
The averages of all this, data. And if you ask it for general marketing advice, it's going to give you some average ass marketing advice.
Totally.
And when you have it trained on, specific, unique data from people that for a fact are high level marketers and are up to date, like it becomes such a competitive advantage. It's really, really, really cool. And I mean, when you start to just kind of grasp it, your mind goes in a trillion different directions of all the things you could do.
Yeah, I know. I've been, like that whole mindset of I'm not getting left behind. I tell all my homies that too. I'm like, we're not getting left behind, like there's so much you can do. And, I have friends who are like music producers, and I'm like, yo, you need to get on Manus. You need to get on Claude Code. You need to get on Codex, and plug it into Ableton, plug it into Rekordbox. Like whatever you're doing, do it and try to do it with AI, because the only thing that's going to happen over time is AI is going to get more and more simplified. Like we've already seen it happen from, think about like when we did our last interview, I probably mentioned a PRD, like a product requirement document, which, I would build with ChatGPT and then take that document and go to Replit and then try to build the app there, right? But now we're at a point where you just tell the idea to Manus and the whole thing gets done. But because it gets more simplified, you kind of miss out on understanding the steps happening behind the scenes. And the more you miss out on that, the less you're going to be able to diagnose things later. It's like the media buyers who used to buy ads in Power Editor, in 2011, 12, 13, and then, did all the manual ads buying from, 14 to maybe 18. Like those guys have an intuition when they're buying media.
Yep.
And they know the things going on behind the scenes. It's not just the algorithm. Like they know actually what those pieces are. And that's basically happening in the AI world. So I feel like people should just get in and play with it and see what happens. And, you could there's just so many things you could build.
It's also like a lot easier to do than it sounds or that
Totally.
people have in their heads. Like I remember when I set up like my Hermes, I was like this. I was like, I got the whole weekend. My one goal
intimidating
is just to
thing is
set
like
this up.
it starts in terminal.
Yes, exactly.
That's the most intimidating thing
Exactly.
ever. The first time I set up an OpenClaw was with this guy, Gio, and he was nice enough to just he was like, I'll just screen share with you and like do it for you. You can just watch it happen. And it was so complicated like the first time. And then I was like, I should just do this a couple times myself. And then once I started to feel the power of it, I was like, to all my friends, I was like, I need to get you guys on this. So I've probably made like 20 to 30 Mac Mini setups now at this point. Now I can do it in like 30 minutes.
Nice. How much do you think you're spending on credits right now?
Well,
or tokens?
Yeah, I mean, I actually don't know the token usage, but 2 months ago, right after Claude cut their made you have to go API. Yeah, I think the 2 or 3 months after that, it was like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. My Manus bill at one point was like 8 or 9,000. But like I was building anything and everything you could possibly think of. I was building games for friends. I was building like I built this roast.nik.co, which takes 30,000 lines of a markdown file of how I think about landing pages, and then you put your site in, and for $5, it'll just run it through the whole thing, give you a recommended cool. What you should do for your landing page. So I was just trying to build everything. And it sounds like you have Hermes Agent too. Do you use Telegram with it?
I do. I've gone away from using it on a more consistent basis just because I've found that for most of my use cases, I could do them within Claude Code and I don't really need to, take on the extra token usage. But yes, I do use it in Telegram.
Yeah.
It's so much nicer that it could like watch YouTube videos and like
it's amazing.
I mean, there's a lot of really cool benefits to it.
Totally. The other thing is, do you pay for the $200 a month ChatGPT?
Yes.
Okay, so if you plug in GPT 5.6 Soul, that thing is on par with Fable, but like you get it for the $200 a month plan. You don't pay on top.
Okay, I need to
that to me has
do
been
that right after this conversation.
Yeah. It's the first time I'm using a model and feeling like, oh, this thing actually is like reading my brain to some degree, like understanding a lot more than the previous ones.
Super cool, super interesting. What's exciting you in that world right now then? I mean, obviously you're building a million things and you have a little bit of, it seems like a little bit more mental space now since you exited the agency. Congratulations, by the way. To just like think about your next move, like for somebody right now who's, seeing everything going on right now and like maybe they have an agency, maybe they wanted to start an agency, but then they got cold feet because they're like, what's going on in this world? I don't really know if media buying or, these sort of marketing stuff is going to be something worthy of an agency in 2 to 5 years, whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
how do you think about it?
I think the agency world is a lot more niche down now than it used to be. Like, I don't know how much room there is for like an agency that's good at everything anymore. Most agencies generally are like really good at one thing,
or nothing,
yeah. But it's rare that like an agency is actually good at multiple things. But I do, I exited because I felt like I didn't want to do what I was doing at the agency, which was basically a lot of like what just felt like people management and ops management. And like me personally, I want to build things. I want to I was itching to like spend more time in the world of AI because I couldn't do it because I was so busy dealing with other stuff. But yeah, I mean, for me, like what's interesting now is I'm just building things. So like I've started a couple things. There's a brand I'm working on bringing to market. There's a phone charging kiosk business that I launched with a couple friends, and we've brought that to market and started putting that at venues. There's one or two other things that are kind of just in the works, but the common theme is basically like, okay, from everything that I learned at the agency, all the patterns, understanding unit economics, what makes a good business, what breaks a good business, what do I know about brand, and what do I know about consumer psychology and community marketing and all these things. Like out of that, how can I filter down to a couple of really good ideas? And then can I use everything that I know, all the knowledge that I have, and AI to basically bring this to market efficiently? And I think the plan is basically, how can we bring this to market efficiently? Test it very rigorously for like 6 months, understand if there's an opportunity here, and then from there decide, do we like try to scale this thing? Or do we say, okay, we tried this, it didn't work, on to the next one?
Yeah.
The only thing, like when I say it out loud, I sound stupid. I feel like I sound stupid because so many people have tried this in the past. But it's funny, like me and two or three other growth marketers I know that I respect a lot are also doing the same thing. And they also say the same thing. Like it sounds stupid when you say it out loud because it's failed so much in the past. But I think with the growth marketing knowledge plus being cracked out on AI, and then of course any other advantages when it comes to like having done this before, or having economic advantages as it comes to a 3PL, or having like a partner who can help source ridiculously good stuff in China. I think those are all advantages too. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on now, and it's honestly just been a lot of fun. It's like every day I'm just building things. It's just like, okay, what am I going to build today, or what am I going to go create, or like. Saturday night I was at the office and I was like, how come like I should be creating AI influencers. Let me try doing that and see, look at, go through that process. Yep. And so yeah, it's just been a lot of fun really. But it's been like, I'd say efficiency is like the number one thing that I'm trying to value across everything, you know? Yeah.
It is awesome, man. It reminds me of, have you ever read the book, The Lean Startup?
I've like heard of it. I've
pretty much the only thing, the only thing you need to take away from that book is just the one line of test before investing heavy into something.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's kind of just like the main, is like, let's use AI and just build.
Yeah.
And then see what sticks.
Totally. Totally.
And it brings up an interesting conversation of moats, because in that whole world, like you were saying, with the competitive advantages of having a good supplier, having this, unique knowledge, I've been thinking a lot about moats, just in the fact that I think a lot of people thought they had a moat before AI, and we're seeing like a lot of these things are kind of getting destroyed. What do you see as, like, if we're trying to think about creating a product or a business just in general, that, because you want a moat that has this unique competitive advantage, how can we kind of create that? Like, what do you think, in this world that is changing so fast, that is?
I mean, it's like moats are definitely tougher now, I would say.
Do you think you need a moat?
Yeah. Well, I think you need like a reason to exist,
Yeah.
Like I was just talking to this guy yesterday. He's a super successful guy. He co-founded this like a fertility product, and there's no moat. Like there's really no moat. It's just like another supplement brand that exists. And I told him that, and I was like, dude, you need a reason to exist. Like you need to scream that this is a problem. Yeah. And because of this problem, you're not going to lead, a fulfilling life as fulfilling of a life as you can. And this is our solution, and this is why it works, and here's why everybody else sucks at doing this. I don't know if you need a moat, but you definitely need at least that.
Yeah.
And I think like Groones is probably a good example of that.
Groones are a great example.
They basically came to market with the perfect product market fit, which was basically like a reason to exist, right? You're missing out on the fiber and all the greens. We're going to make it super easy and in a way that like Americans are going to love to consume.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it. Then they just started running ads, and within the first 60 days, it started to take off. But I do think there is a lot of value to moats. There's basically like a few main ones I think you can rely on, or try to get involved in. One is like on the product side, or basically in the supply chain side. So, pre-sale stuff. So anything from like you've got like the Black Wolf Nation, that was like a men's skincare brand that used to exist. They owned their own 3PL, and that was like one of their side businesses. So like that was a moat for them. They paid basically at cost for shipping, nothing for pick, pack, storage. And, that's a few dollars an order that they're saving right there. Another one might be that the Buffy is like a longtime bedding brand. That guy's family owns the factory where they produce all the bedding and material. So like that's his moat. Like no one else can get that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then so basically like, if you've got friend, family, or a homie who owns something that gets you crazy advantage, 3PL or product or shipping stuff, whatever, then I think there's a moat you can build around your product. So like, do you have actual innovation in your product? Is there something that's patented? Is it a formula or an ingredient that other people can't get? Is it like there's that energy drink update? They have an exclusive on the ingredient for paraxanthine.
Do you remember when I told you about paraxanthine in our last conversation?
Did you?
So after our conversation, I'm like into weird biohacking stuff. Yeah. And after our last conversation, I brought up paraxanthine, and I was like, I think that this little like coffee alternative caffeine thing is gonna blow up. I think it's a great product. Wow. Super random side note. Yeah, that was just funny. Continue.
But like for them, their moat was like no one else can get that ingredient, right?
It's a great ingredient. I highly recommend people check it out.
And then on the distribution or marketing side, like if you've got Kourtney Kardashian, if you got David Beckham, like that's a huge moat, right? Not only because you get a ridiculous level of awareness and instant eyeballs, but you can walk into any retailer in the country and just walk right in, and they're very happy to have the meeting. And your test rollout is national instead of in a tiny little region. So I think those are those are the main moats that I think about. There's obviously also if you're doing things around licensing, you might be able to be the exclusive beverage licensee of some big franchise or whatever. Yep. But yeah, I think those are at least like moats that I think about most. It's basically like, okay, is it around the supply chain or is it around the brand or distribution? Yeah.
Yeah, the creative stuff is interesting because I think for a lot of people, it's going to be hard to have a moat in supply chain when you're not familiar with that world. But, I think a lot of people would be, even on a smaller scale, like a more of a niche micro creator, there's a lot of kind of competitive advantage you can gain by partnering with those people.
100%. Especially if you can do like what Hudson did, which is you get exclusivity on the creator. So it's not like one creator is working with even 2 or 3 companies. It's literally just one forever, and there's a huge moat in that because now you've basically got an army that only does work with you. And super cool. And it's also way more authentic to a customer. If they go and look up the profile and they see that Sally only has 5,000 followers. She only talks about one brand ever because she's obsessed,
Yeah, no doubt, dude.
Okay, I told you about the benefits. Now here's Sattva on what changed when their brand moved to TV advertising using Tatari.
TV has been the perfect way to drive upper funnel awareness and overall brand awareness and favorability that also supplements our lower funnel performance channels where we've always been pretty successful, and now we're seeing even additional scale.
The beauty of working with Tatari is we can leverage their platform to look at both our linear buys and streaming buys under one roof and be able to compare performance between the 2 media channels and optimize them as one sort of holistic TV approach.
Want the same? Head to nik.co/Tatari to learn more. That's nik.co/TATARI.
I really wanted to ask you this question because, I come from more of an e-com background. Mm-hmm. So many friends of mine come from the agency background. And man, oh man, do I get jealous sometimes just in terms of the fact of like high recurring revenue. Obviously it's high ticket.
Sure.
It seems like it's a lot easier to sell a service which has an ROI to it, you know? And then kind of on top of that, when I just think about the fact that like, you know, for me to make $100,000, I need to sell a lot of customers.
Yeah.
For them, it's like 50 customers, you know? And, you know, I think grass is obviously greener always on the other side, but I think you have a super unique perspective kind of being on, you know, both ends of that spectrum, seeing both sides of that equation.
Yeah.
When you think about like, you know, the right business or like, what's your kind of 2 cents when it comes to that agency, commerce, or just business model in general conversation?
I mean, for me, I think it depends. Like, it depends on, you know, you as an individual. But my take is basically, you know, I worked at a brand first for about 2 years. And because of my experiences there, I was able to, you know, start consulting, and then that kind of snowballed into an agency. And then as the agency started to grow, then I was like, oh, wait, this is now just people management and operations management. But until a certain point, like until probably the 200K a month mark, 250K, I think agencies are great. You also, like, past a certain point, it's, you know, the quality of the output starts to go down unless you really are sacrificing profits and investing in the best possible talent. So, like, you know, basically you're also competing with brands for that same talent. Like, all of the senior creative people that I had are basically now at like Groons, Array, Marsmen. It's, you know, that was the talent pool I was competing with basically. So for me, like, I decided early on that I didn't want to sacrifice. I didn't want to just gain margin for exchange of like producing a shittier product. Yep. And I think that's why so much of our websites or our stuff was really sick. But at the same time, you know, the thing that you build, like agency, you get cash up front essentially, right? You're basically doing work for exchange of cash. But then as soon as that work's done, your cash stops.
Yep.
So that's the thing that sucks about the agencies. You're not really building like much longevity there. With the brand, you know, if you turn your ads off, you still got subscriptions, you still got organic, you got all these other channels. When you're ready to sell the business, you're selling the brand. You're not just selling like the product or the revenue that you were able to get. Whereas on the agency, it is kind of that. You're basically focused on like, okay, you know, how much margin are you able to squeeze out? And then, you know, where are you at in terms of like EBITDA or revenue? Mm-hmm. So all that said, I think agencies are phenomenal businesses to learn because like, a lot of the people, a lot of the great marketers today have come from the world of agencies where you're basically like, you know, thrown into a pool when you don't know how to swim and you got to figure out how to swim. And then by the end of it, you're doing laps. Mm-hmm. So agencies teach you a lot. You kind of get into this boiler room environment out the go. So you learn how to communicate quickly, communicate up, down, left, right to clients internally, across other vendors or partners. So there's a lot of like, benefits. It's almost like I would say the equivalent of like going to college before you go to a brand. Yeah, on the other hand, there's a lot of people who are just wicked smart out the gate and they start, you know, the brand thing right away, or they maybe get to a brand, but I don't know. I think you could go either way. My personal recommendation for people is go from agency to brand. I think you're a lot more of a weapon when you get to a brand and you've been at an agency because you've seen multiple brands at the same time. You have a better like collection of patterns at an agency versus a brand, and also again, I think culture wise, like you just get like thick skin and all that at the agency side. But if I were to like decide which one do I want to run and operate today, I would say brand. Yeah.
What type of brand do you think that would be?
I mean, you know. The typical for me is, you know, high consumption or high reorder.
Okay.
Not too heavy to ship. You know, caters toward vanity or vice. Easy to share, easy to be a prop when it comes to content, and you know, ideally something where you're not competing against people who've got exclusivities on retailers or celebrities or creators or things like that. So yeah, anything from, I love the whole just health and wellness world. That's where a lot of our work has been, and that's where I started my commerce journey. And I love the idea that like if you do your job right, you could get people healthier as a byproduct of whatever you're doing.
Yeah, it makes it a great mission.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of the apparel world. I think it's insanely hard. I don't know how people like Hudson do it, man. That you gotta be like insane in a good way to do that. Yeah.
Super interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, I love kind of you breaking things down in that way because it shrinks the search a lot more than probably you would think about.
Totally.
I mean, kind of running through the lens, like I wish I knew that when I got started because like my product, we sell lab tests, like blood testing, direct to consumer. And, I think that there's a lot of challenges that come up with something like that like, you initially, there's pros and cons and you initially kind of just have this idea and want to try it and you're totally green and don't have any of these experience. Yeah. But, I think for myself now, I find myself in a position where 3 years later, we've had success, but it's like, I know for a fact I'm far away from a lot of the unit economics and things that I need to have this be something, bigger. Like for example, like I had the perfect unit economics here, which is like 80% gross margins, huge TAM, high discretionary money to spend, those sort of things. And it's like blood testing is a commodity. First of all, there's a lot of venture capital that has entered into the space, and it's like kind of like a race to the bottom in the sense because there is no real, like if you're getting your blood work done, at any of these different companies, there's not really a major difference. Like your results are going to be your results.
Yeah.
And in terms of margins, like, when I first started, I was running at like probably 45-50% gross margins. And now that's down to like 30, and I'm still way overpriced and compared to some of the other competitors in the market.
Yeah. Is that because they're selling stuff on the back of that?
It's interesting. I think it's twofold. I think one, you take like a Function Health, for example, they've raised over 300 million in VC. And I think that they're kind of, they're running, subscription based. So I think they're operating at a loss, to acquire a customer at the current moment.
Yeah.
At a price point that is just, I don't even get the wholesale price at that. And we use the same wholesaler. So it's like, it's interesting there. And I think they're starting to add things into the back end. I think they're starting to do, more supplements and I think like peptides and that whole world. But I think they're still very much in like beta with some of that stuff. So I think it's kind of TBD. But it's interesting because I find myself in this position where it's like, I'm making money. But I know that it feels either one, temporary, because I feel like the only reason I'm making money is because it's like an inefficient market in the sense that like people are probably buying from me because they're unaware that these other better priced options exist. And I find myself in this weird kind of predicament of being like, where do I go here? What would be your advice in a situation like that?
Well, like one of the problems with competing in a commodity market is you're competing against convenience or price.
Yeah.
So like if you're selling like toothpaste, you're competing against somebody going to CVS around the corner when they run out. And if you're selling this, you're competing against everybody else who's selling it for cheaper, right?
Yep.
In your case, I would say like either, basically you got to figure out like what is your moat? Like why should people come buy from you? It might be that your brand is a lot more relatable than these VC-backed, gradient-loving startups.
Gradient love. That's a good example.
Or, it might be that, when people sign up with you, they get X, Y, or Z after. Maybe there's like a membership component that you get enrolled into, and it includes, a mindfulness app and this and that and the other thing. if I were you too, I would basically, I mean, if you know, like what happens after the blood test, like I would use that and catapult that into affiliate offers or build your own storefront or process orders and collect the cash and then place orders separately and get those shipped. Like I would basically try to figure out like the post acquisition world. I know like Superpower, for example, like whatever, and I imagine same for Function, like whatever they say is the membership price, by the time people check out, it's like double or triple because they just add shit as they go. So I feel like you could use that as like a loss leader and catapult that in. Or if you're like, hey, I'm tired of this, like I tried this, I don't want to be competing in a market like this where all I'm doing is swimming upstream, then there's probably a company out there that's looking to add this into their stack.
I think how I kind of see it is I think there's 3 different options. I think number 1 would be to kind of parlay it into a high ticket health coaching offer of sorts. I don't want to be a health coach. I'd probably bring on like a physician or somebody to be that role. My kind of, I guess, beef with that would just be high ticket health coaching. I think is a pretty hard offer to sell in the sense that like, it's hard to get businesses to spend money.
Yeah.
So I feel like it, B2C and kind of a little higher ticket health related.
What about if you became the white label provider for other health coaches or concierge doctors? Testing? Yeah. Like, all these concierge doctors in the city that get paid $5-10 grand a year from their people. If you're their back end.
I think the issue is that it's a bit of an arbitrage in a sense.
Yeah.
That it's not really like, it's pretty damn easy to sell to you just pretty much need a doctor's license in order to get these tests.
Got it.
So it's not like it's a super difficult thing from that sense.
Yeah.
I think it's the health coaching. The second option is I think the moat lies in the interpretation of the labs. And, reading through all the reviews and complaints from, Superpower and Function, the number 1 complaint is like, I just want to talk to somebody about my results, and I want actual insights and not like AI slop answers. And so I think that, you could do something cool with like almost creating how I was thinking about it was like take a content creator in the health niche and gather all their posts, kind of all the things like you were saying with how you're doing things currently with like the landing pages and the roast Nik.
Yeah.
Where I gather all their data and then I have like, a lab test plus an interpretation from this like creator AI of this certain person. And then I could kind of co-brand that with a bunch of different creators.
Yep.
And so that's one option. But it doesn't solve the margin issue because I think the margins, it's you would need to, like you said, kind of have something on the back end. And all the thing. And then I think the third option is kind of what you said of just throw it out and sell it to, somebody who wants, this offer in their stack.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think, I would probably go with adding on to the back.
Yeah.
Or kill it if you're not excited by it.
Totally.
Honestly, the thing too is like for e-commerce to work well, especially today, you have to do 15 out of 10 things right.
Yeah.
Like you have to. If you don't, you can't even like step in to compete with the guys that are like, just on it.
Totally.
And so I think a big part of that is like, making sure you're passionate too about what you're creating and selling.
Yeah, it's a great perspective. It's a great point.
Yeah.
I mean, so right now for you, you just have this exit. So now you're in this position where you have a little free time on your hands. So let's say Elon Musk, started listening to Limited Supply and was like, yeah, man, this guy knows his shit.
Yeah.
I want to invest in this guy. And he was like, dude, I'm going to give you $5 million. Start whatever you want.
Yeah.
I just want to be an investor in it.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Well, honestly, I probably wouldn't deviate much from like my current plan. Like you basically need, at least in my eyes, about 100 to 150K to stay lean and launch a brand. Branding, identity, your first purchase order, your first order of branded boxes, tape, packaging material, the actual product, getting it in the hands of your 3PL, and then initial capital for ads, maybe like 25 to 50K. You could do all that for 150 in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the problem with raising money, which, I've had VCs who are basically just said that. They were like, yo, whatever you want to do, we're just going to put this money into a bank account and you can use it however you want. And then whatever, you start creating, like we got first dibs on that.
Yeah.
And the only downside in my opinion is like, one, I did this to like get free and totally. I feel like I'm not going to be free there.
No doubt.
But two is, let's say you take $5 million or $2 million or whatever, you're basically starting this game where you're already behind on valuation. And I invested in this drink company Barcode a few years ago, and they did this thing where they raised like $2 million on a 10, right? So they started basically 6 months before launch. If they don't hit like 20, 30 million valuation by the time they burn 2 million or in 24 months, whichever comes first, they're already cooked. And so like, I saw so many businesses go through that. And like, that's probably why I wouldn't take 5 million, because then you're starting at like a 50 million valuation.
What if it was no strings attached? What if it was just your exit? And
if it was no strings attached,
and you
then
put $5 million.
Then I'd put it all into distribution. Like make a crazy innovative product that's very defensible. Maybe it's patented. Maybe there's a new ingredient that you got exclusivity to or something like that. And then put everything else into distribution. Put it into Tribe and run the whole Hudson method. And parallel that with trying to crack the code on like performance media.
And for those that don't know about Tribe and what's going on there, because
Tribe is sick. It's basically everybody now talks about the Hudson method from Comfort.
Yep.
Basically, building your own internal community, Discord community of creators. We're talking like 20 to 100,000. And then eventually the people who are really good, you bring them on as like full-time creators. And these people are pretty much just making money off commission. It's not like they're making a retainer. But, some people will make $1 million a year doing that.
Yeah.
And so Tribe basically like is the software that facilitates all that. So everything from finding and sourcing and messaging them, bringing them in, managing their payouts, making sure they're up to date on product specifications or angles or things like that. So I'd put it into that. I'd put it in, that's kind of like the TV or guerrilla marketing of 2026.
Yeah.
And then I'd go hard on performance media, Facebook, Google, landing pages, offers, and then make sure you have a killer product.
Are you seeing a lot of stuff going on right now with AI and media buying? In terms of,
to be honest, like I've actually personally not bought media seriously for a minute. So I'm not super deep in that world, but from my friends who are, there is agentic media buying happening.
Yeah.
Is
Triple Whale banned?
It's not getting banned.
Okay.
So the things that were getting banned were like when people would try to hook up things that were not kosher with Facebook.
Okay. Yeah,
but if you do it through the
Manus.
If you do it, Manus just got blocked. That acquisition got blocked by China.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize.
Manus is so good.
Yeah,
that China was like, you guys are not getting this.
Wow. Yeah,
but Manus is insane. It's cracked out. But no, if you like, for example, Converge is another app that a lot of people use for custom conversion events. So, people buy like 2 blood tests versus 3 or 4, like it sends a different conversion event back to Meta. But they also have like agentic media buying now starting to be built in there and people are using it. Triple Whale has agentic media buying and they have multi-$100 million brands doing it fully.
Really?
And basically now has become a game of like how fast and how proficiently can you make and add creative into the creative pipeline basically. And make sure too that the creative is like, intentional with its angles and its messaging and trying to reach a different consumer.
Super cool.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
The whole agent, like connect Claude code to anything or Codex to anything is about to get wild.
Oh, I know. I think that's going to be for, I think that could be a saving grace for a lot of SaaS companies.
Yeah, totally.
super interesting. So
Yeah.
if we're talking, we mentioned Hermes, OpenClaw, Manus, Claude Code, Codex. In that world, kind of when do you use what for yourself?
I actually used to use Manus for a lot of stuff. And if people are not using Claude Code or they don't have their own Mac Mini setup, just use Manus. Go to like whatever you normally use, ChatGPT or regular Claude, and tell it to make you a full document of everything it knows about you, what your preferences are, what you like, what you don't like, what your goals are, your visions, etc. And then give that to Manus and just use Manus, because Manus is like the best, everyday use type of app. And then the main setup I use is pretty much Hermes for everything. But when I'm at my laptop, I might pull out Claude Code and just do it in Claude Code versus, Hermes, you have to use Telegram for everything.
Mm-hmm. So you use Hermes within Claude Code, like as the harness?
No. I'll use Hermes and communicate with that through Telegram. But then separately, I'll use Claude Code. But the thing is, because I use HQ, the memory's in sync.
Yes.
So every minute or 15 seconds, it's sending updates and downloading the updates. So like on the way here, I was using Hermes as I was walking to write a couple emails. Or I guess that's a bad example. But like, whatever I had done there, it's next time I open Codex, it's already synced up.
Yeah. Super fascinating. I mean, I think in terms of jobs in that whole world, it's super interesting to just see like the macro perspective of where we're going and where things are heading. It's super odd. Like you have an incredible VA, who I've spoken with, Ramiz, quite a bit, and I'm like, damn, this is I need one.
He's more like a chief of staff now.
I need one of these. Yeah. Like, how do you think that role, like being so deep in AI, but also leveraging VAs and employees, like, do you think that we're going to go leaner in terms of teams and
For sure.
we're going to have this kind of a job crisis? You think that that's the direction we're heading?
Yeah. I don't know like what the job crisis will look like. I hope that like it's just jobs get displaced and move towards different things. But like Ramiz is cracked out on AI just as much as I am. And my whole team is like, I have 4 people. We're all cracked out on AI. And it's something I'm like, guys, you need to be cracked out on AI or like, I don't know what the fuck you're doing here. So, like they've all gotten 10 times more efficient and our speed of like doing things is just insane now.
Yeah.
As a result.
It's super cool, man.
Yeah. I mean, like, cool. A simple example was like, that the battery charging kiosk station for venues, right? Like we yesterday had the idea that, we know all these people who can actually refer venues to us because they have a better relationship with them. But we need to build a good one-sheeter or a one-pager that they can pull up to read the benefits or show the venue owner or whatever it is. That would have taken like a 2-week thing, even if it was maybe longer if it was not me and just Ramiz doing it. And now that's like a 2-minute whisper flow into my phone, and then it gets built by the time I finish lunch.
Yeah, I mean, man,
it's insane.
Super cool. Have you been DJing a lot? Has that been the main focus right now?
Yeah, not the main focus, but a good side quest.
A good side quest.
Since like probably mid to late last year.
What's the Instagram on that called again?
After Hours.
After Hours. So
no H.
After Hours came up on my suggested on Instagram.
Oh, amazing.
And I clicked on it. And I was so confused.
You're like, what?
I was like, is this Nik?
Yeah.
I was like, this is awesome, dude. This is cool.
Yeah, Troy and I started making music like last year. And we were just like, let's try to see if we can just like, let's just put music out and see what happens. And first we just thought it would be a fun thing to do, and then a fun thing like, with our friends. And then it was like, oh wait, there's a lot of like fun things that come as a result of this. You have cool experiences, you go to cool places, you meet cool people, you get into cool rooms. If you can DJ a good set, you have some leverage.
No doubt.
You always get first choice on aux. So yeah, it's been fun.
Super cool, brother.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you because I'm going to go to China in October.
Yeah.
Mainly as like a curiosity side quest.
Yeah. Are you going to the fair?
Canton Fair?
Yeah.
I don't think my timing's going to work out. I
I'm
want
not sure
to.
when it is. I really want to go next
I really
year.
want to go. I think it's in, I know there's one in April, and then I think it might be in November, the other one.
Got it.
I might work things around because I definitely want to check that out. But
Yeah.
in terms, I just kind of want to go as a little side quest to figure out how that whole world works and suppliers and kind of just see what innovations are going on over there. Experience that world, touch it firsthand. From your perspective, like if you were going to do a trip like that, what products or things are you kind of circling and like, I want to go kind of touch that and check that out in person? Like, what are you looking at?
I mean, robotics would probably be one, the world of robotics. The thing with like, well, one also get like, do you have somebody there?
I'm trying to figure that out right now. I'm kind of in that process.
You're going to need somebody there. Don't go
100%,
solo. You're going to get scammed. You're going to get ripped off.
Yeah. It's going to be tough.
And try to find like somebody who can be like your on the ground concierge, walk you in, like they know the factories, they love this person. I would probably go get a flavor of everything, to be honest, because like the way my brain works is like I just think, okay, what can I sell? Like what could I see that would make somebody's life so great that like they'd want to buy this, and then go from there. I probably wouldn't restrict it to certain categories, but definitely I'd want to, like today, without going to China, I'd never touch the world of electronics or hardware or anything that requires like a customer service line where people got to call or, you got all that. But when I go to China, like I'm definitely going into that world.
Do you think you will
robotics, go? For sure. I'm going next year. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to hit that
the
Canton Fair.
Yeah.
In April.
Awesome, brother.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, dude, so for the person listening right now who, let's say, they're either in an entrepreneurship vehicle, feel like it's kind of not the right one for them, or they're on the sidelines and are like, I kind of want to get into this world, man. What would any offers or things right now that kind of excite you? We mentioned agency getting more and more niche. I think I think if you can get cracked out at AI, there's a ton of really cool opportunities there. But like from your perspective, anything you seeing right now that you would like, business ideas or things you would kind of throw out to the audience?
I mean, on the service side of things, like, you're not launching a brand, but, you want to get hired by somebody to do something. Like, I think that world of niche agency is cool. Basically, you get really good at one thing and you just do that for everybody. So, it could be something as simple as like setting up custom pixel events across your site so you have better, data pass back into ad platforms and Klaviyo. And like a brand will pay you $5,000 to come set that up. And then, you just do that one at a time. You could do, like this whole idea of helping brands figure out AI ad creative. So there's a constant supply of new ads coming in. Like somebody would get paid $10,000 a month to go in and consult on that for 3 months and then bounce.
Yeah.
Now the actual like starting a business, right? Because that's like almost like freelancing or contracting.
Yeah.
And I think adjacent to that is maybe like building things, like building an app and trying to get some users, or, trying to create something. But the other side of it, where you're like building a business, you've basically, you maybe have to put money down for a PO, money down for this, money down for that. Just make sure you know what you're signing up for to some degree, because like entrepreneurship is hard as shit.
No doubt.
And it's you want to make sure that like from wherever you're at in life, like you're at the right place to do that, because you're basically competing against 99% chance of failure in 2 years. And entrepreneurs, like if you're the CEO of the business, you're basically dealing with whatever everybody else couldn't do.
Yep.
Problems wise or whatever. So it's totally a grind, but it's not impossible. And if you've got the itch or the bug, you should definitely like try it out.
As you say that, it just kind of sparked something in my mind that I've thought about for a while now, in the sense of like, we think about the world of entrepreneurship so often as like younger people through the lens of like online businesses.
Yeah.
And then there's obviously this whole world of like blue collar work or like real, I think they call them like Main Street businesses.
Sure.
HVAC, pest control,
For
kind of
sure.
all
Yeah.
this whole world. Do you think that there's a super cool opportunity there? Like, you mentioned, 90% failure rate in 2 years. Like a lot of these businesses you could probably acquire that have been around for much longer than that. And kind of already have cash flow and a proven track record.
Totally.
And it's so interesting to me in the sense of like, I think I think the direct to consumer world and agency world, you gain a marketing chops that's probably a lot more advanced than a lot of these companies are working with.
For sure.
And there's kind of this, maybe an arbitrage opportunity there. I don't know because I haven't experienced it yet.
Yeah.
Have you thought about that at all? Not for you personally, but just like in general.
For sure.
As an
I mean,
opportunity?
like, one of my closest friends runs a fencing business and, decent sized business, but like they have no idea what they're doing when it comes to marketing.
Yeah.
Anything from their website being on like an old WordPress theme to their Facebook page looking like shit, their Instagram looking like shit, the ads they run go to a dead link. There's no level of like identity resolution happening on the site that are all basically cold leads. They haven't figured out how to use AI to respond to people quickly or call people back. So there's definitely an opportunity there. The only thing is that those guys also don't value like an agency for 10, 15, 20 grand a month.
And they hate they're very anti.
They also don't know anything about this world. So like whatever you tell them, they're just like, I don't know if like my friend Bob has a similar business and he doesn't do that. So I think but like if you can, there's definitely an opportunity there.
Totally. Even partnering with one in terms of more
or
of
even
like
if you could, like if you raised capital and bought up all the fencing businesses within 3 states or something. Now you have
cool
like
roll-up opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah. But I don't know that world as well. I know that also like management of people is completely different in blue collar world and white collar world. So yeah. And I had this thought the other night, which was basically like the best hospitality experiences are actually by places who have the best understanding of how to manage blue collar workers. Like it's a different type of worker than somebody who's sitting in an office after 4 years of college and writing essays and all that stuff, But like if you look at the best restaurants, the best, venues, the best hotels, it's like the ones who really understand training and education like that.
Super fascinating. How do you like being in New York, dude? Do you think you'll be here long term?
I'll be here for a while for sure. Yeah, no plans to leave right now.
I love New York, dude. This summer especially is.
The summer's been phenomenal.
Man.
We had the Knicks, the World Cup is happening now, FIFA, and
we got that game coming up here.
Birthday. Yeah, we got this game shortly. Yeah, New York's been on fire.
It's been on fire.
Yeah.
Nik Sharma, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.